And we're back. And fucking
gone.
Clint is gone again. Big timed us at the beginning of the show, came on the show, and then just gave up. Because we had to make a little bit of money while he's in his home B or whatever the fuck he was talking about at the beginning of the show. Clint, welcome back to the show. We were just catching people up on the turn of events here. Tell us what you've had going on lately. As far as, I mean, I heard you debate the great Owen Benjamin. I heard you be an interrogator at Georgia and right-wing infiltrate the Georgia convention. Yep. Whichever one you want to talk about, feel free.
I mean, I don't feel like I did any of those things, but I'll talk about them regardless. We had Owen Benjamin on Tower Gang, and I basically spiraled Owen Benjamin into some sort of fucking delirious, manic episode, which was fucking awesome and one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. But so it started because I had remotely kind things to say about Vivek, and then Owen saw that and he went on an absolute rampage against the Pajeets for 3 weeks straight. And then he decided that because of that, apparently anarchism and, the broader libertarian movement was also a danger to he and his family. And then he debated Bob Murphy and a bunch of us. Then he came on Tower Gang, attempted to debate me while I was trying to be funny. And then we were supposed to
stop telling jokes, bro. Your philosophy is stupid. You're an idiot.
Yeah, exactly. So I offered to have him come on the show. He said he was down, but then he went and debated like 3 or 4 other anarchists, and I guess feels as if he has satiated his desire to trounce our movement, and now he has moved on to Taylor Swift bashing. So that's the Owen Benjamin
arc. We're gonna get to that later.
Yeah, I think he'll probably come on my show eventually. I'm not really much interested in debating the guy as much as I just like to talk, but we can debate if he wants. And
I like Owen Benjamin in some ways, but for a debate that he chose to have, I wouldn't say that he held his own all that well.
Right.
It seemed like Cenk Uygur trying to host or trying to perform in a debate. It was very emotional, which doesn't usually work out great in debates.
Yeah, well, that's been my pitfall, is that I get really emotional during debates because people say such dumb shit. But I'm getting better at that. I'm learning. Anyways, and then I went to Georgia to moderate the debate. I had just announced in Jacksonville the weekend prior that I am running for the VP nomination.
Oh yeah, there's that too, I guess.
Yeah, and I was not at all. I reached out to the Georgia folks and I said, look, I don't think it's really appropriate for me to be moderating debate when I'm also in some ways, a competitor. Yeah. But they said, well, you're also not running for president, so we can't have you on the debate stage. So we're just going to have you moderate it regardless. And I was like, all right, here we go. So on my flight out there, I decided to craft all the questions I'm going to ask. And I asked them of every candidate. It was not like I was targeting anybody or trying to topple anybody. But Jacob Hornberger performed horribly, in my estimation, from my vantage point, my very subjective point of view. And he then went on a rampage, recording 3 like 30 or 40 minute videos that he put out on his YouTube, where he was saying that I'm an alt-right infiltrator and basically a Republican or whatever.
Correct. And
yes,
Kurt
we'll get
Russell.
into that.
And getting my name wrong about 25 times.
Quiet,
That was an awful lot,
Kurt.
yeah.
Kurt, shut up. The libertarians are talking.
McCarthy was claiming that the Army was...
I don't, I'll be honest, I watched this entire thing. I don't have any specific clips. We're just going to jump to where he starts, probably around where he starts to talk about Kurt.
Non-libertarians, you could forgive them for coming up with this interpretation, because here's the debate moderator, which is really bizarre, putting an extreme right-wing person that is there advancing his agenda in tandem with this clown guy that's on the panel is really weird. It's really bizarre.
Collusion. This clown guy from a guy who ran against Vermin Supreme last go around, but this is just crazy. The guy doesn't even have shoes on. Bizarre.
I mean, respectfully, he's right about Toad.
Well, sure, yeah. And he'd be right if it was Vermin Supreme too. And yeah.
Debate moderators are supposed to be neutral. I mean, they may be, tough and ask difficult questions, but they don't have an agenda up there. This guy's got an extreme right-wing agenda. as a debate moderator is absolutely a fascinating deal.
Would you agree with that, Clint? Would you
No.
agree with it that you have an extremely right-wing agenda? And so the things that it seems like he's taking issue with are, like, you talked about the border, you talked about COVID stuff, you asked them, you interrogated them on whether or not they had been vaccinated, and there was something else, something about January 6th or something. Do you want to give any insight to that? Why does he think that you're a right-wing terrorist, and why are you not?
Yeah. I'm not, because I'm just not, and I know that's disappointing. But the reason I harped the reason I harped on the COVID era is because, as I told him, and well, let me back this up, because you haven't seen the footage yet, right? You don't even know what happened.
I haven't seen the debate. No.
Yes,
I've seen like clips here and there that there was like a couple feeds or whatever, but nothing in its entirety.
Well, keep in mind, this is a 2.5 hour long debate. It's the longest debate that will probably happen in the LP in the entire year.
Like, I'm doing a 3-hour one in 3 weeks, but go on.
Oh, okay. Well, and the competitors, not all of them, but most of them said it was the best debate that we've had yet. They thought it was the most lively, and they thought it was the most challenging questions and things that, like, an audience would actually care about. What a fucking novel idea that I tried to orient this towards what I know libertarians care a lot about, which is like the FBI being run amok, and whether or not J6 was an inside job, and whether or not the COVID era will ever be investigated and adjudicated in a court of law, and like all of these things that you can if you've totally been in a coma for the past 4 years, I'm sure you could look at that and just go, well, this is only applicable to MAGA. But in reality, it's a huge issue for any political dissident, and you'd have to be totally Trump deranged not to see that the libertarian community is just as much in jeopardy as the Trump supporters are. And that was the reason that I was orienting that way. So I didn't ask, for the record, I didn't ask or claim that if you got the vaccine that you are not suited to be the presidential candidate.
So that was the main thing. Break down exactly what happened, because when I listened to this, by the end of it, I was like, yeah, it sounds like Clint might have made a misstep in asking that, because if it is as Jacob Hornberger says, and Mike Tremont was just like, it's none of your business, and he, I don't know, like, stood up and stormed out or whatever the fuck, like, yeah.
When you see it,
sure.
You're but all I have.
Right. Yeah. Like, all I have is Jacob Hornberger, who's clearly emotional about this, to give me his side. So I want to hear your side of, did you interrogate these guys? Did you insist on their medical history?
No, but I did ask. I said, I opened the question by saying, first off, I think that it's important to understand that what we lived through was one of the biggest, in my estimation, one of the biggest psychological operations against not just the American people, but the entire world. And I think that it speaks to character and ability to assess what transpired in real time, not predicated off whether or not you got the vaccine, which I even stated, like, I think in the beginning of the question, if not towards the end, that if you got it, that's fine. I'm not like, that is not the criteria I'm laying out. The criteria was, with new information that came to light in hindsight, how do you feel about it? How do you feel about that decision? Has your vantage point changed at all? I want to see if I'm dealing with ideologues or people that are actually, rational observers.
So you did not ask them straight up, did you get the vaccine?
No, and then I said, if you would like to tell the audience, feel free. I'm not going to require it of you.
Just like McCarthy did. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I said, and if the answer is yes, have you no shame, sir? Please exit the stage immediately. Like, none of that happened.
Yeah, we got boxcars out back for all the
quick
evil.
I just want to say, I've watched every single one of these debates. Some of them back and forth, working with the REC campaign and snipping out little clips and videos. The fact that hasn't been asked yet is fucking crazy. These debates have been largely just like I was going to just say like a show, but that's like being kind of generous.
It is being generous. I was going to say a minute ago while Clint was talking, like, when I was asked to do the North Carolina one, they were just like, we would like you to do kind of like your style, because all these debates end up feeling the same. They all ask the same questions, and you go down the line, everybody gives their answer, then you go on to the next question. The South Carolina one I watched last night, the moderators did actually quite well. But I do like that they're bringing in people who are, I mean, like, in the broader scale of things, not that we're the Joe Rogans or the Elon Musks or anything like that, but we're definitely outside of what the political norm is for the Libertarian Party, you and I both. I'd like that people are branching out a little bit and being like, what does a person that isn't necessarily sold it, or what does a person who runs a podcast and has their finger a little bit more on the pulse, like they're the ones who are asking the questions that people want to hear. It's not just going to be like, do you support abortion or do you not support abortion? I'm sorry to cut you off, Dave, but yeah, I do like that they're bringing in new people, and I think that it's refreshing, and the Libertarian Party needs more of it.
You had Brad Binkley there, man, who was he still hosts the Propaganda Report, but the work he did with Monica Perez during the COVID era, bro, was heroic. Yep. So I listened to just a little bit of what he did, live last night, bro. I really appreciate this guy's approach. And if you're looking for like a layman who wants to support your party, who like wants the libertarian message to succeed, but isn't necessarily a big L libertarian, I liked the way he went in, and I think I didn't see the debate. I can't fucking wait. I'm nerding out about it. I don't even care.
It should be out tonight.
Awesome. But he was basically like, yo, sell me on somebody who was paying attention over the past couple years. Like, I never read Rothbard. I'm not into your kind of niche stuff, but
a normal person,
right? A normal person. Like, if you can't do that, I mean, that's fair. I think that's a cool way. And I like that he expressed that in the beginning.
I thought Brad did a great job. Obviously, I thought I did a better job, but that's just because I know the party more. He was asking kind of more as an outsider. I was asking more as an insider. But this is the remarkable part about it. So the reason I asked this question, or the actual totality of the question, was I would like each candidate to explain to me what their perception is as to what transpired from the origin story of COVID to the decision to lock down to the all the protocols when it came to distancing and masking, and then the vaccine rollout, and all the way up until now, including Fauci's involvement throughout and where it came from, everything. I want each of you to give me your basic like chronology of what transpired, and if you have any theories as to what happened. Like, I just wanted to know, like, are these people blue pilled is basically what I was going for. Sure. And I wanted the audience to know that. I wasn't trying to get them to answer the way I wanted. You can have differences of opinion as to what transpired. That's totally fine. Yeah. But what was amazing is that I asked every candidate, this starts on the left, and it's like Termott, Josh, Toad, all the way down to Hornberger. Hornberger is the last person to answer. So he has heard 2 minutes from each of these candidates detailing all of their conspiracy theorizing, because they all see it similarly to how the rest of us do, right? That this was fucking disastrous and obviously some sort of secretive program and all this shit. So it gets to him and he goes, I just don't see why this matters. And it was like,
that's not the story that I heard on his drive home.
Yeah, well, he says more than that, but it's like, it's totally
the thing,
off.
He says that you asked everybody, did you get the shot? And if you got the shot, it should disqualify you, because that means that you trust the government. And he compared you to McCarthyism, saying that you were trying to destroy people's lives, destroy their careers by asking them such deep personal medical information. And then once he got to Mike Termott, his newfound hero, Mike Termott said, none of your business. And then apparently, by his story, you just gave up because Mike Termott shut you down. And so you would have never asked him that same question, that same very obvious question.
Because I was afraid of how he would
either you were afraid, by his words, either you were afraid, or after Mike Termott, you just realized that you were in the wrong and you just backed off right at the last minute. So tell us your version.
Not at all the case. So I was fine with all of the answers from all of the other candidates. I disagree with them. Like I even respected Chase Oliver's answer. He said, yes, I got it because my doctor told me that it would help, prevent transmission. And I had, my elderly mother or whatever. And I was like, okay, cool. But he said, then my doctor reassessed after looking at the data. And, we decided that it was not the best option for me, given my health condition or my good health, to get the boosters. And I was like, okay, I just wanted to see, are you evolving? Are you thinking at all? Right. That's the reason I asked.
Have you learned anything?
Yes. Have you learned? It's been 4 years of the most. All right. So before I get into my rant,
sure.
So I asked Hornberger, he gives this fucking terrible answer. And basically he starts like every question I ask, by the way, he goes, once again, Mr. Russell, I totally disagree with your, the premise of your question here. And like the question ought to be, and it's like, he's just such a fucking weasel. Like he's not actually answering what I'm asking. It's very frustrating.
Yeah.
But when he gives me that rant about how it shouldn't matter, and it's just about bodily, autonomy and freedom, and that's it. Like that's all there is to it. There's nothing more to be discussed here. I fire back because I'm in the moderator position, and I say, look, you're running to be the presidential candidate under the Libertarian Party. The Libertarian Party's entire purpose is to defend human liberty. The COVID era and the lockdowns were the gravest, infringement on human liberty in my lifetime, for sure, if not in American history. I mean, fucking really big up until slavery or the Civil War, or internment. Anyways, in my lifetime, we'll just go with that.
Yeah.
And you have nothing to say about it. And I said, I didn't even disqualify him. I just said, I think that if you're going to be the messenger for our party, it is vitally important that you have something to say about that, given that it is, as far as I'm concerned, our job as libertarians to have a fucking good answer on this, the most important liberty infringement domestically in my lifetime.
Yeah.
And I said, and I'd encourage you to, do some more research, because he said, I'm not a doctor. I haven't looked into it. I don't know what happened. And I was like, that's just not good enough.
Yeah. Okay.
And the whole audience explodes in applause when I say that to him. So because of that, because I, in a totally non-attack way, destroyed him because his answer was so bad.
Because you gave him the rope to hang himself, and now you are McCarthy.
Yes, now I'm fucking Joseph McCarthy. It's unbelievable, the framing that he's tried to apply to this. And I swear to God, when you watch this debate, you will be like, how in the fuck did this guy have the nerve to try and reframe it that way? In my humble opinion, the reason he came out and he did it when he did is because the footage wasn't out yet, and he wanted to portray me as something that I'm not.
He's
getting ahead of it because it's absolutely destructive to his campaign. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, all the way hat goes off to him for being that corrupt to completely reframe it, assuming that you are telling the truth, because he did good. I don't know, I don't know if it's tonight. Right, I don't know if it's a delusion in his brain. If it's as stark of a difference between what you've just said and what he said the other day, is it a delusion in his brain, or is it just terror of, well, this is clearly over, so let's get ahead of it?
Yeah. Well, I'll let you guys decide. Honestly, I would love to have a watch party with you. It's going to be so fucking funny when you see what a pussy this dude is, that he would actually try and portray me as Joseph McCarthy because I asked very important questions during a presidential debate. Like if these questions are too challenging for you, Jacob Hornberger, you need to drop out of politics forevermore. And this is coming from someone who, based off the Mises Caucus endorsement of him in 2020, I fucking said that I was supporting the dude. I was not a hater. He performed terribly. That's a fact. Anybody in that room would tell you the same. So I don't even care that he's trying to, frame me as some sort of like hard right, alt right, Joseph McCarthy figure. Like, whatever, dude, whatever. When people see this footage, the record will speak for itself.
I mean, his whole shtick is, it's not really even a shtick. I think he's just like, I don't know. There's a part of me that kind of respects it because he's very autistically libertarian on paper, and he has the very 5 years ago libertarian answers for everything. And it's like, yeah, good on you. Yeah. And he's like, his whole thing is like, well, they've never seen a person do this in this way before from any of the top dog presidential candidates in the Libertarian Party. Okay, maybe, but you ran against Joe Jorgensen with that message, I assume, and you lost. And then Joe Jorgensen did really bad. So you couldn't even convince your own party that very, I don't know, just very simple libertarian answer to everything, that would do anything for the party. You couldn't convince the libertarians of that. So I'm not sure exactly what you're doing here. Sorry, go ahead.
I just want to say it's sad that it took this long. These guys, I've been on this rec campaign for 4 months. These guys, all of them have traveled. Mike Dermott's been to 40 states. They've done a lot of this. So many debates talking about.
I interviewed them all last year, and they were saying the same thing.
What I'm talking about is, if you Clint, you're running for vice president. So Clint understands the potential of the party, right? We're not there yet, guys, but he understands the potential. He understands the importance of the word libertarian and the philosophy. But This didn't come up until Georgia because the moderator brought it up. And instead, we're talking about opening up the borders day one when Jacob Hornberger becomes the president. What the fuck are we doing? This is so dumb. It's such a LARP. Like I will LARP with you guys, but this is like so deep. It's so retarded.
And also to pretend like it's going to win when 25 Republican governors are supporting Texas. Like, you bringing up the Texas thing is because half of the country is currently saying this is a problem. Like, the governors are saying go against the federal government, and Jacob Hornberger is saying no, let's not go against the federal government. Let's open it up.
Oh, it's more than half, because if you actually look at New York, like, there's a ton of popular demand for this to be addressed. But setting aside popular opinion, this guy consistently, every question I asked, almost every single question I asked, he pivots to, we're not going to win with any of these messages from any of my competitors. He goes, the only way we win is with open borders and ending Social Security on day one. I'm like, amazing. Those are both the worst pitches in this moment I can possibly imagine. Like, oh, you want to add to that? Let's start World War III on day one? Like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude?
If you want to say it's the most libertarian thing to do these things, fine, make your argument. But to say that the only way that we're going to win is by going against what a lot of people disagree with, and in a third party, that's going to do it. That's going to tip us over the edge, just disagreeing with everybody.
It's unbelievable. And that, I mean, after he did it to like 4 questions in a row, I was like, this guy is mind-blowingly bad.
And he's good at keeping the whole tone of the debate in that area, though. It's weird. And then these other guys are forced to like be like, well, if I was president, I would have some kind of off ramp. It's like, we're all missing the mark. You got to find the bravest guy who was the best and bravest during COVID to be the standard bearer. Anything else? Yeah, like what are we Joe Jorgensening it again? Like, that's just crazy. It's really a condemnation of all of the candidates up until this point, that is the first time that there was a little chaos in this last debate, and it made him short circuit.
Yeah, well, I was amazed by it. And then the other thing, I did a follow-up question after he did his ending Social Security on day one rant for the 3rd time. And I was like, look, I need to ask you this, because is it not adding insult to injury that millions of Americans have been robbed to pay into this program, and you are then telling them to just eat it, to kick rocks, that they don't have any claim on, like even from a libertarian framework, would they not have a better claim to that money than the government? And I mean, even if it ultimately means inflation, like, they have been robbed. They have a right to recoup those stolen funds. Do they not? Like, that's it's a very reasonable libertarian argument to say you can't just end this program that people have been paid into, and now they're 70 years old and they just start to collect their first couple checks, and you go back to work, I guess. Like that's
church got your back.
It's a crazy policy proposal.
Sorry, Grandma.
All I said to him was, like, I agree with you about ending it. Obviously, everybody on this panel agrees with you about ending it. But would it not be more fair to allow these people to have what they've paid in to be recouped, or to have a phase out plan over 5 years or 10 years or something like that?
Something realistic.
He just goes, he basically says that I'm a socialist. And I'm like, dude, I can't even deal with you right now. Like, you're mind blowing.
Ron Paul said, inventor of hashtag end the Fed, Ron Paul, said, well, you can't, if I could end the Fed in a day, I wouldn't, because it would, like, people would die. So you wouldn't just do that in a day. Right.
Yep.
Just so people understand. Right. Like, so, but it is weird. I just feel like we get lost in the sauce of the hypothetical libertarian president. Like, it would be great to get to a point where we could talk about, libertarian policy at the federal level. That would be cool. But I feel like we're in a different phase right now, and few understand that. I'll say that.
Now, assuming...
I don't think Hornberger understands anything. Go ahead.
Nah.
Assuming that he thinks that you're a right-wing infiltrator because of these very hard-hitting, hardball questions that you threw at him.
I thought I was being nice.
Right. Like, for me, like, I do the candidate grilling thing, which I do want to have you on to do sometime now that you're a VP candidate. I'm honestly sorry that I keep forgetting to mention that at all, because you do a million things and good on you for the hustle, even if your rap career never took off as much as Ben Shapiro's did. But we will have you on at some point to discuss your campaign as well, because I know you have a limited amount of time today. But when I do the grilling of the candidates, it's not to be mean. It's because you're in the libertarian, not you, but the candidate is in this libertarian bubble where it's like, I can't believe you'd ask me that question. It's a socialist question. You're a right winger or whatever, like calling you a right winger and a socialist at the same time, because they can't handle being asked questions that normal people are going to ask. Not just normal people, but people in the media that fucking hate you are going to interrogate you much more McCarthy style than a fucking libertarian at a libertarian convention asking you a couple questions that you can't answer. If you can't answer them, then you're certainly not, equipped to be the standard bearer for our movement and to go into the mainstream media and talk to whoever, Rachel Maddow, MSNBC, CNN, all that shit. They're not going to be nearly as nice to you as Clint Russell is. So if you can't handle Clint Russell, stop.
Exactly. And for the record, the questions I asked are really important. It's like, they're not important for MAGA. They are important for millions of people that have concerns over what they were forced to put in their body. Like, is there going to be justice for these people? Are we going to be the party that allegedly represents human liberty and has nothing to say to them about what happened? The gravest injustice when it comes to human liberty in my lifetime. We have nothing to say, because if he is the candidate, he will have nothing. He will have fuck all to say about that. Well, I'll be damned to see a dude like that doing the biggest platforms in the country. That's right. Crazy. Like, we might as well just fucking close up the party if he's going to be that dude. So
100%.
That's the reason I asked these questions. And now let me add to it. The other question I asked was about Thomas Massie, the greatest congressman in the country. I think everybody in the Libertarian Party, I hope everybody agrees with that. I don't know who the fuck would be in competition aside from him. Thomas Massie releases the surveillance footage from J6 where it looks as if there's a plainclothes cop that identifies the bomb, and then he allows women and children to pass by it. And I ask all of the candidates up there, I say, have you had a chance to see this footage? If you haven't, let me describe it. If now that I've described it, can you give me some idea as to whether or not you think foul play is afoot here? Because there's also evidence that the I think it was the license plate or at least the cell phone was like geofenced in that area, and it led to some sort of FBI agent, and but then that investigation was stopped. Like, there's a lot of fucking questions here, right? I wanted to see, are these people totally blue-pilled, or are they at least like open to, we need an investigation? We need to, like, I'm not asking them to come to a conclusion. I'm not like putting them Alex Jones on the spot here. You have to be as crazy as I am and just conclude. But do you care? Do you think that this appears to be shenanigans or not? Now, because it's J6ers that are involved, because it's largely Trump supporters that are involved, a fucking moron like Hornberger hears that question and goes, this guy's a Trump supporter, Mm-hmm. As opposed to, this guy's a libertarian who understands that the FBI is a federal police force that's coming for all of us. Hello? Yeah. So I can't with this dude anymore. I can't.
Yeah. I'd be surprised if any of these guys, if at any point in any debate, forget J6 for a second, I don't know if they've been asked if they all believe the vote, if there was any voter fraud in 2020. I don't think that's been asked yet. Like, that's crazy.
I got you, Dave.
Most people care about that. And, like, Chase Oliver should have to answer that question.
Well, if you ask it, you're automatically a Trump supporter, so strap in,
shit.
man.
They're going to make me a Trump supporter anyway by the end of this, so whatever. Hannah Forcine says the obvious answer is RFK Jr., which, Clint, I know you got to get going here soon, but I do want to get your thoughts on this before you bounce. RFK recently came out and is dipping his dough back into the libertarian waters, and you, as his obvious running mate, I would like to get your thoughts on this.
Going to get on those state ballots?
Yeah, we'll be on the ballot in every state. I mean, as you pointed out at the beginning of the show, we got into New Hampshire. People said it would take us weeks to get the signature. We needed 3,000 signatures in New Hampshire. We got 5,000 in a single day. So we have a ground team that, in all of the states where we can collect signatures, we're doing that now. There's about 27 states, Michael, where you need a vice presidential candidate to start collecting signatures, but we have until August.
You hear him, Clint? You need a vice presidential candidate. Yeah.
We're not going to have a problem getting on the ballot. We will be on the ballot in 50 states and the District of Columbia.
Okay, so for the sake of time, he says something to the effect of, the libertarians are way better, and I didn't realize how big of an issue this would be getting in ballot access. And I'm in over my head, and I would like to rape the Libertarian Party for all it's worth and take whatever they have to offer me. Clint, what do you think about RFK being the LP, being your guy?
I mean, I have no idea, dude. It's so obvious that he's like 20% a libertarian and 80% awful. So
yep.
Can he, and also can he possibly walk back his claim that the Palestinians are the most coddled people on the planet, like as they're being bombarded? Like how can you possibly say something like that?
Did he say that libertarians are the most cuddled people on the planet?
No, Palestinians.
Oh, Palestinians. Sorry, I was reading chats. Go ahead. I'll shut up.
No, he said about the Palestinians, and given the demographic that he's targeting with his campaign, it was one of the stupidest things. I mean, it's stupid to believe that, but it's even crazier to say it. So I don't know what the hell happened there. I mean, the truth is, if he's going to want this nomination, he's going to have to come through the fire of talking to all of us and explaining his positions and explaining how our differences aren't as significant as they appear, because to me, they seem massive. And I don't think that he is at all appropriate to be our candidate unless it's like Jacob Hornberger, who gets 100,000 votes, or it's RFK, who totally abandons the entire libertarian philosophy, but he gets a 6% of the vote, and then we get federal funding and blah 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 blah. It's like I'd probably go with RFK in that situation, I guess. And as for whether or not I'd run with him, I'll ask you guys, because I don't know what the answer is here. Would it be better for him to run with some other shitty person that doesn't know anything about libertarianism? Or would it be better for me to be on platforms saying, Kennedy's wrong?
I would not hold it against you. If the opportunity arose, I would not hold it against you at all. I agree with you for the most part on the 40-60 split for RFK, but I don't necessarily want to be the LP candidate. I didn't necessarily want Joe Exotic to be the LP candidate, but I wanted Joe Exotic to run. If he can fuck shit up in the Democrats, great. If RFK wants to run on his own and you want to join him over in the whatever, the RFK camp, I wouldn't hold it against you. I still don't know how I feel about him running even as LP, but it's clear, even more than a Justin Amash, it's very clear that RFK would be running LP, not because he's libertarian in any way or has ever considered himself libertarian, but because we have something that he wants, which we could benefit from him, he could benefit from us, but we could also reap the idea of all of his gun shit and his climate change shit and all that, so who knows where it could go. I would prefer him stay over there and keep being the anti-COVID guy, and if you want to go help him be a better anti-COVID guy, I would certainly not hold it against you. What do you think, Dave?
Yeah.
I would just say, look, it's nice to have options, right? We control the LP for at least a little while longer, but we should talk more about that. But right now you can decide. You can decide what the function of the presidential candidate is, right? And you can take it to its logical extreme with RFK in the picture. So if you want to just stick with the grassroots, stick with the principles, grow this party from the ground up and do the long game, low time preference shit.
Go Jacob Hornberger.
Then you should get no matter what, that guys were just skirt. But find the most radical messenger you can who will find the remnant and build your party. Because you're just getting started, really, from 2 years ago, right?
In fairness, Jacob Hornberger won last time because Joe Jorgensen was the same, good on paper, and all the libertarians. She was the lowest common denominator that all the libertarians voted for. Jacob Hornberger could be that too.
Don't sleep on Tremont, because that's what I'm saying. You'll find your number 2 or 3 guy can work his way up. But if you don't want to do that, if you don't want to just stick with the plan, the 20-year Project Decentralized Revolution plan, then just let RFK, you should Airbnb the shit out of this party. Don't expect him to be a libertarian. How much, who cares?
Weasel your way in and make him better.
Well, I mean, just like basically rent it out since you don't have your shit together. Like, but only if it gave you something. Like, we are capitalists. So the strongest independent in 30 years is out right now, whether you like it or not. And that's going to affect your party in a negative way if it's outside of your party. The only way it can positively affect you, if you're thinking long-term, 2028 and beyond, and you'll have to talk to Karen Ann and people who know how this works. But yeah, if he can secure 6% of the vote, 8%, maybe more, if he has 50 state ballot access, what if he's just like, look, I mean, we talked earlier, Dan, about how this is pretty much just about money. What if he just came in and was like, I need this party. Here's $80 million. Oh, okay. Does that changes everything? Because truth be told, we don't have our shit together. I can't wait to watch this this Georgia debate so that I can fucking jeer at these nerds. I'm ready for it, dude. We should be doing better. Jacob Hornberger shouldn't be up there. We shouldn't have a cop in the top tier. This sucks. We need to do better. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sorry if Mike Rechtenwald is putting people to sleep. Like, I'm sorry, that was my dude, but I'm not in the game. I don't want to sell you guys on that shit either. I just tell me, all I've been doing for the past 6 years is cheerleading for whoever the guy is. When it was Hornberger, I didn't give a fuck. Open borders, whatever. That's your guy. Cool. I'll make memes for him. I'll talk about him. When it's Dave Smith, I got excited. Okay, we'll take it into high gear. Yep. But we got to deal with that very real. You're muted. But we got to deal with that deficit that Dave Smith left. Like, that's a very real thing. And
yep.
I made memes for Gary Johnson. I made videos for Joe Jorgensen. I'm not the most proud of it, but I'll do it. I would do it for RFK if it came down to it, because he's still going to be better. Sure. But if RFK was the candidate, I'd be like, I don't like this. But also, if we're talking about debate between RFK, Donald Trump, and Joe Biden, I feel like RFK has the most valuable things to say, even if I'm not sure if I disagree with him on more than Donald Trump, but even if I did disagree with him on more, there's one very, very specific thing that he's that's his entire thing. Donald Trump is really bad on that. I don't know. I don't know where I stand. Yeah. We'll see where it goes.
You got to weigh out other stuff too. Like, would you rather vote for Chase or for RFK? Like, say those are the options. Do you guys? Chase
is running a good campaign. He's running a real good campaign inside the Libertarian Party, and RFK I see more value in.
Me too. So you weigh out the value. Plus,
well, RFK is clearly a better option there, just because that gets us national funding. And if we're going to have a bunch of messaging that I think runs afoul of my belief system anyways, well, then I'd rather it either be like true blue in alignment with my worldview, or get a 6%. Like, right. One or the other.
I just asked on Josh's show, and I asked them both in real time. So I'll ask you the same thing, even though he was still in the race and you just got off the tour bus with him. But I asked Termont and Josh at the same time, who would you rather, who aligns closer to your values, Vivek or Chase? So they had to talk about that together. I'll let you guess who they both aligned with closer.
It's funny. It's a good comparison, because I would say that in some ways Chase Oliver is a bit of the Vivek of our party right now, because he's the young guy who's politicsing really well. He's playing the game really, really well. Like, I don't necessarily trust either one at their word, but they are doing very well. And I feel that Vivek, he's saying all the good things. Chase is doing that too for a lot of libertarians right now.
I think Chase probably has as favorable opinion of the vaccine regime early on as Vivek did. Like, I think like they're very similar. Like their evolution in what they witnessed over the past 4 years has kind of matched itself. So I don't know for certain, that either of them are telling the truth. But and I hate Vivek's position on Taiwan as well as Mexico. I'm sure I would align myself with Chase much more so when it comes to foreign policy. But I like Vivek more because he was actually talking to, tens of millions of people. And I was like, well, if we're moving the ball down the field, like, this guy's moving it much further.
Vivek is saying more valuable stuff currently. He's saying more hard-hitting stuff.
That's true.
Coming from a Republican who's saying, "Oh yeah, you know what, guys? I've been thinking about Ron Paul for the Federal Reserve Chair. Also, I think I could abolish the FBI." Like, these are big reasons.
75% head count across all federal departments. That is fucking enormous.
Yeah. So I mean, no matter what, I know he's out. But like, if that's the kind of message you're getting from the Republican Party, like, we need to kick it up a notch. You know what I mean?
Yes, agreed.
Maintain the movement of the Overton window. Like, keep going. If you got Vivek over there, and then you had the balls to put up like Jacob or Termine, or in my opinion, Chase, anybody but Toad, Josh, or Rec at this point. And you know, Clint. I'm just saying, if we got to a convention and, you know, where they were probably asked you to step up for president, would you do it? Because I'll throw you in the top 4 then too. But I wouldn't have, because you're vice.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, I would certainly rather not.
Well, you're not ready for that smoke.
Well, I just don't want to do it. I didn't want to run for VP. I've been very clear about this. Like, I'm doing the opposite of what Dave did. I'm saying yes, but then I'm telling everybody I don't want to be doing this.
I'm saying yes because I want to see what happens. Not I'm going to jump in and determine what happens, and then bounce out. But you, as the surrogate for Dave Smith, I have some questions about the libertarian philosophy, as Owen Benjamin would, and we'll get into that sometime. But I know you got to get going, Clint. Thank you so much for your time, man. If you have any final thoughts at all, you're welcome to stay as long as you want. I'm not kicking you out, but any final thoughts or plugs or anything that you want to do?
Yeah, I've got like 3 minutes, so I can hang out a couple more minutes. But well, first off, I just really want everybody to watch the debate. I want everybody to watch what actually transpired, because when you see it, you will realize what an unbelievable weasel Jacob Hornberger is. I mean, the questions I asked were perfectly respectful, totally pertinent, vitally important. I mean, like,
not to mention, he complains that there's a right winger interrogating them, but the GOP always has like a Democrat moderator at all theirs. So it's like, if you can't handle, even if he was a right wing infiltrator that was moderating them, if you can't answer the question, then you can't answer the question. That's on you.
Yeah, it's terrible. And also, I think that he's attributing much of what Toad said to my beliefs, which is a huge mistake, because I don't agree with Toad on
always for everyone.
Yes, exactly. but like, I think he realized that we were both Tower Gang, so he's like, I'm getting 1-2 punched by this fucking Toad, footless, shoeless guy, and then this alt-right Kurt Russell.
I'm sure Toad had some real zingers. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he did. And him and Josh, I mean, God bless. I think Toad did a good job, but he said a bunch of unlibertarian shit that I totally disagree with. And I totally disagree with Josh too on governors to Gitmo and using Gitmo for.
Right. So you were getting blamed in tandem for whatever Toad said. Yes.
Yeah. But I don't believe that. so it's like, just because I asked the question and then Toad and Josh go off on some, now you want to say that's an authoritarian position or rant, fine. Like, I won't even disagree with that, but I didn't fucking say it. So why are you saying that I'm alt-right? But yeah, I would really encourage everybody to watch the debate. I think that you'll come away just floored at what a liar this guy is. And honestly, I'm offended by it. I'm offended that he would try and misattribute and
if what you're saying is true, I too am offended by it. Yes.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
he painted a really bad picture of you. He painted really, like, after watching it, I went into it thinking, I've never been a big Jacob Hornberger fan, and I'm friends with Clint, and I went into it open-minded and listened to it. I'm like, oh, I think Clint was in the wrong here.
Yeah.
If what you're saying is true, then absolutely he was in the wrong to make that video, and it's very Weasley, very politician-y, and definitely doesn't make him a more pure libertarian than anybody else if he's going to throw shade and be a shitbag candidate.
Well, and also, the question that I asked in regards to the border was about, do you support the Texans' right to secure their own border? Like, which plays off of states' rights and 10th Amendment.
How he told it was, how are we going to? Would you each support Governor Abbott's decision to keep out immigrants? That's how he worded that.
No, the specific. I mean, I can't remember the exact specifics, but it was more along the lines of, would you support Texas's right to secede, given that the federal government is relinquishing their government granted responsibility?
It should have been yes before you finished the question. Would you support Texas's right to secede? Yes.
I agree with you on that. But then I wanted it to be spicy. So I said up to and including defensive violence. I said, if the feds were to actually invade after Texas has said that we're seceding, like, would you support that? Because defensive violence, at least under a Rothbardian framework, is absolutely just, is it not? So, I was trying to test them. I wasn't trying to give them the answers or anything. I was just like, are you guys for real? Like, do you believe in the Free State Project? Would you support New Hampshire? Would you support Texas? Like, these are all important questions. I wasn't even really going down the line of build the wall, Trump 2024. None of that shit was happening. So that's why I think when you guys watch it, you'll be amazed.
Yeah, we will definitely be reporting back and giving updates after seeing it with our own eyes. We've heard both sides now. If you haven't seen it, go check out Jacob Hornberger's screed. He's got at least 3 or 4 of them. And McCarthy, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it.
Man.
It's been fun. Yeah, we need to do it again.
I'm going to absolutely helicopter you guys out of America as soon as I'm the president. So
I appreciate that. I would love to leave this place if Jacob Hornberger's our representation. Clint, Kurt, thanks for being here, man. Kurt McCarthy. Man. Thank you. We have our shit together. Where can people find you?
Oh, Dave, go ahead.
Real quick, I just wanted to say thanks for stepping up, man. There's so few people, literally, I'm kind of shocked about, we have a lot of leaders in this movement, and I was, not a lot of people show up, and, do the work and fill out the paperwork and put themselves out there. So I appreciate you.
Thank you for setting the bar that I can't live up to, but also the warning shots have been fired that you might get some spicier questions than you're used to having. And if that makes me McCarthy when I do it in a couple weeks, then sorry, Jacob, bow out. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I as I've said, it was, I felt like it was kind of a last resort for me to actually do this. So, but I've always said, if there's a politician that I'd want to support, it'd be someone that doesn't want to do it. So I'm like, well, I guess I'll just be that guy. I'll be the guy that really doesn't want to be doing this. But I think it's really important. I think we have an opportunity to message to an enormous audience. I have access to an audience that is probably only outdone by someone like Dave. So
or
it's
Jacob
like,
Hornberger.
well, definitely not Jacob. So it was like, if I have,
it really is a numbers game. You got the fucking he's putting the numbers up, and he's already, congrats on the new show with Luke, man. It's great. Yes. And you are in with the people that, if we want to get our message out, which to circle back to what the function of the presidential campaign should be, that's all you got. That's all you got is public relations at this point. That is it. People make fun of the Twitter, but that's all you got, baby. Flex it, but work it, but that's all you got. So
if that's all we got, though, what does that mean? Well, that messenger better not fucking suck, right?
Yeah,
so this is why I ask hard questions, because I genuinely care that our messenger doesn't suck. And if that runs afoul of their sensibilities, they can fuck themselves. I do not care at all. This is bigger than their personal ego.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
I want to talk to you more about that later, but thanks for being here, man. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, if you're down for
lockdown.
If you're down for a grilling, let's do it very soon. And also, thank you for being here, even as the right-wing interrogation fed infiltrator that you are. I really appreciate what you're doing. I might be not happy that you came in out of nowhere and blew up because of COVID, and I'll keep bringing that up every time you're on the show. But whatever you're doing, you're hustling, and I respect it. So even as a Fed, you're one of the good ones, and you're really hanging in there. Clint, thanks for being here, man, and good luck on the campaign trail, if that's what you want to call it. And we'll talk again soon, man.
Appreciate you guys. Have a good one.